Hi guys, and welcome back to another video. Today we are looking at the Dukw or Dukw by Airfix. States 172. This is a 176 vehicle. Dukw is not an acronym. D stands for 1942, U is utility, K is all-wheel drive, and W refers to the type of axle that was used. So basically it was a kind of a transportation vehicle. It wasn't really a combat vehicle as such. It was obviously amphibious, so you could, obviously cross rivers and you could handle a little bit of surf and that type of stuff, and kind of light to medium seas, I suppose. But had a kind of a capacity of about 25 troops and about 5,000 pounds of stores. So in fairness, it was a very useful vehicle in that sense, and served throughout the war. Interestingly enough, in Dublin here in Ireland, there is one or two of these go up and down the River Liffey in Dublin as a pleasure craft, as they do in various other parts of the world. So they're still in action today, in a sense. Anyway, so the Boxart there, that's kind of from the late 80s, early 90s, if I remember correctly. That is kind of the type of boxing that I recall when I kind of returned back to model making in the 90s. This is one that I've had knocking around for a while, and I haven't had a chance to get around to it, so I've one or two of these to put together. So that'll keep me busy for a while. Anyway, that's the box. So let's have a quick look at the instructions while we're here. The instructions, standard kind of Airfix instructions for the time, just your usual sort of fold out sort of thing. So you have your little blurb at the front there about the vehicle itself, all good. And then internally, then of course you have your usual warnings, what not to do with it and what to do with it, and so on and so forth. Gives the listings of the paint numbers down there in Humbrol paints, which I'll be using because I'll be doing this in 86 to match with all my other stuff. So basically the instructions, as you can see, they're fairly straightforward, as I always say. Get your few bits and pieces together there, and away you go. And if you form the hull there and that. Actually, most of the construction really is done in that section. Once you have that together, you basically have the vehicle itself. Putting together the wheels and the axles and that, very straightforward again. Obviously, make sure and paint the wheels prior to doing that, and the axle if you're doing that kind of a thing. And then at the back, you have kind of a canvas cover. You have a 50 cal Browning, which is poorly detailed, but it is a 50 cal, and other various bits and pieces that go to make up the accessories and odds and ends on the vehicle itself. And then that's your finished article, shall we say. And then of course you have some instructions as regards to decals. So that's basically it. I'm expecting it to be a fairly straightforward build, but let's have a look at the sprues while we're at it. So instructions out of the way. Here we have, it's a lift top box as well, which is always handy because you can keep your odds and ends inside it. A few bits there, and that sprue there, as you can see, you have the front of the boat itself, some of the side options, wheel bits, and so on and so forth. What else have we got? We have the actual floor part of the boat itself, the vehicle, shall we say. Again, a little bit of detail there, not much. Quite an old set. I'm not quite sure what date this came out in, but it has a classic green Airfix plastic, which always reminds me that, of the older kits. That piece there, that sprue there, you can see the 50 cal is a fairly basic representation, in fairness, but at the same time, it'll be fine. You can always substitute that for something else, of course. So that's that. What have we got here? Here we have the kind of canvas cover piece, a few other odds and ends, parts of the axle, and seats there as well. I have the drivers removed at the minute for painting. Other than that, then, the last actual sprue as such is the kind of the wheels, and that section there, that's kind of the body of the center part of the actual vehicle itself also. So that's that. What did I drop there? Oh yeah, the only clear piece, which is sort of the windshield, shall we say, which is that. So, even though the box is quite old, that's actually luckily enough in decent enough condition. There's two pieces there again, which are the side sections. Okay. I have a loose steering wheel in here, so steering wheel. And then decals. So there's the decals there. I'm upside down. There's the decals there, and that's pretty much that. So I'm going to crack on with this, and we'll see how I get on with it, and I'll be back to you pretty swiftly with the finished article, and we can see how it looks. Thanks guys, talk to you then. Hi guys, as you can see I've returned with the completed model. Fairly straightforward build, one or two issues here and there but nothing major. I had to pare back a small bit of plastic on the hull here, just this rim here, to allow the canopy to fit correctly, but other than that, a small little bit here which I think was down to slightly warped plastic on the bow here, just because this particular boxing was quite old. Other than that, very straightforward and no issues as such. From a paint perspective, basically Humbrol matte, 86 for the green and 26 for the canvas. Basically they're the colours I've been using for other units for my rapid fire, so I'll just blend it in with that. As I said before, if I was going to use a green for Allied/American or British forces, again I would probably go something a little bit darker than this 86, but that's just my personal preference. 86 is the colour recommended by Airfix for most of their American and Allied vehicles, not all, but most of them, and that's fair enough. Other than that, very straightforward, a little bit of a dry brushing with some Humbrol matte enamel silver, and that was that really. Black obviously for the wheels, and I have to say it's a fairly straightforward little vehicle. I mean, I don't go to great lengths because these are for wargaming. They're not what I call shelf models, so from that perspective I just kind of get them presentable enough for the wargames table and off you go. I don't base vehicles, generally speaking, unless they're very, very small little things like jeeps or maybe an artillery piece or something like that, so I won't be basing this, but that's it really. It's a nice little model, and at the end of the day they look quite well, and they're a very, very functional thing from a wargames perspective. Just a matter of interest, there's a second one that I have there as well. You will notice, just as a matter of interest, if you can see here on this, I'm not sure if we have the good enough lighting today, but the decals on this one are slightly better quality than these ones. These are an older decal. These ones, I can't remember where I picked them up, but they're certainly newer, and they have a much better register. Actually, probably better, more clearly seen on the rear of those vehicles, where this one here you can actually read the numbers very, very clearly, and here you can't as such. And here you can actually see it says caution drive on left-hand drive. And here you can't really read it at all, but other than that, that was the only kind of thing I noticed, that the decals on this particular one were a little bit lesser in quality. I used a bit of what's Humbrol's products called, Decals as well. I don't find it as good as it's supposed to be, but at the same time it's okay. I just use it as kind of an extra means of adhesion. It does kind of sink them down a little bit because there's little grooves here, and it does kind of sink it in a little bit to that, but I believe that there are other products out there that are better, which I may investigate in the future. But that's basically the kit as it is. So that's it guys, that is my review on the Airfix Dukw, or D-U-K-W, as you can see there. Nice little piece of artwork as we mentioned, so I really enjoyed that. And that was basically it. So if you'd like and subscribe and watch the videos and share and whatever else you do out there and YouTube them and the internet, that'd be great. And we'll be back to you again fairly soon with another review of another kit. Thank you very much for watching. All the best. Take care.